Okay, so 7th of September is the date today. The 9/11 anniversary, 20th anniversary is in 2 days' time. There's been a media push to look at the documentaries that have come out on Netflix and the BBC. Me and Karan chose one to watch over just to sort of get a feel for it because we were young, man. I'm 29 now. I was 9 years old when it happened. You were 10?
2001, yeah, going into secondary school, so year 6.
Yeah.
Going into secondary school.
Yeah. And watching it now and seeing it just gives you like a new perspective on it because you sort of hear about it, but you don't know the run of events that happened on the day clearly. You sort of know bits and things are skewed and it doesn't really gel together. But now they put it all together for us in a visual format. We chose to watch 9/11. What is it? The
President's War Room.
Yeah. So Live from the War Room, which basically is from Bush's point of view for the whole day and the events that happened. So we're going to just do like a quick review on it. So it's not really spoilers. It's just sort of recapping what happened.
You need to watch it. You need to watch it. Now, what I will say is, like, I'm somebody who has watched a lot of material about 9/11, read a lot of material, read the conspiracy
You're
stuff
a mad conspiracy
well.
theorist, man, on it. You love it.
I am, but it's as in, I don't want people to get the wrong idea that I just love conspiracy theories and
no, but that one I think is a divisive one for everyone.
No, it is. I just like seeing both sides, and I like seeing the whole phrase. There's no
fire without smoke.
Hey, exactly. So,
and that's a really bad reference considering what happened, Karan. For God's sake,
but
man.
when people say things, you've got to look at it and question it and look for the facts. But my point was about this documentary is that I learned so many different things because it was just from a completely different perspective. And watching it, I mean, the initial period or initial words that come to my mind having watched it is there was complete chaos.
Yeah.
Okay? This wasn't like nobody was organized, nobody expected it. There wasn't a playbook like they said.
It just seemed
and
aged.
They were scared. But they were scared, man.
They were scared for sure, but it just seemed old. Like, considering how times were 20 years ago, everything seemed slow, backwards, lack of technology. I'll tell you what, let's just go from the start, yeah? So from the beginning, they show this scene of like Bush going for a run in the morning of 9/11, yeah?
With the reporter, yeah.
Yeah, with the guy. And that made me think like, oh, this is based on like a typical president's film. You know how when you see films, you see the president wake up in the morning, get up early, go for a run, security guards behind it in front of him. I was like, this is really typical, but you know what? I do believe it. Yeah. And I'm not sure if that was actually filmed on the day or from a different day. It would be weird if he was documenting every day in 2001. That would be extraordinary, considering he was only meant to go to a school on the day for the event. Maybe not. So, yeah, I found that weird. Then obviously he turns up at the school where he's meant to go and talk to the kids and understand his new education breakdown and trying to change everything. And the pace of events was quite rapid, wasn't it?
Yeah, because then, again, this is all retrospective. We know now it's a terrorist attack, but at the time they were like, oh, a plane's gone into one of the buildings. It was a small plane. That's the first thing they kept saying. If you
just take that phrase in isolation, a plane has gone into a building, would you not think, okay, tell me more? Not, oh, it's a small propeller plane that hit a building and left a dent. Like, you would think, that's pretty big.
Yeah, no, to be fair, he did say that. But again, there was like nothing, wasn't there? And it was so interesting. There's a point where they said, now we think the CIA, the FBI, the government has eyes on everything. There's like, we didn't have that. And the eyes came from the press.
Yeah.
So they were all like, how many times did we see in the program? They just kept watching the TV.
To
see the coverage. It's not like they had special access or anything. And then it was like, again, it's unprecedented. It's not like a plane's ever done this before. Although I think there was a film made about this before 9/11 happened, which my mum often tells me like this. There's a film about hijacking a plane, and I'm not sure if it included the actual towers, but something very, very similar. And then they sort of carried on, didn't they? They were like, oh, it's probably an accident. Because again, it's the same as the medical world. Like, if you have a symptom today, like say you have a little bit of chest pain right now, you don't think, oh, bloody hell, it's a heart attack, I'm about to die.
Yeah, but Karan, if a plane goes into a building, you still think building, plane, big event. I don't care if it's like
definitely a big event. But I'm saying I understand the notion of they didn't assume it's deliberate or a terrorist attack straight away. Yeah, okay. Second plane goes in, they're like, okay, this is definitely deliberate. But initially, yeah, get some more information. What else is he supposed to do? Like, he's there and he says, doesn't he? He doesn't want to scare the kids and he doesn't want to just...
Yeah, I don't agree with that scaring of the kids shit, because he's like, oh, I don't want to scare the kids and get up. And I'm like, hang on, a guy's whispered in your ear the nation's under attack or whatever.
This is the second plane now, isn't it? This is the second plane.
No. This is the first plane. The first plane had gone in, I think, and he said to him, the plane's gone in, the nation's under attack. Or was it the second plane? You know what, you could be right. I think it was the second plane.
Second.
Okay, the second plane, fine. So the second plane hits and the guy says to the nation's under attack, and you're sitting there and you're trying to read a book, and I'd be like, I need to go to the toilet or something, or I got to get out of here because this is some major shit that's going down. Don't frighten the kids, but just say, I need to step out for a sec. That's what you got to say.
But you saw it. I mean, this is the one good thing I liked about the program, the coverage, is they had lots of stills. As a photographer, you'll appreciate that. But they captured, the emotion so well. Like, there's coverage, that's fine, but the stills are like, you looked at his face and he was like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, but also with a still going, you can take a still of me doing this and it looks like I'm doing something major, right? A still in a picture can be very misleading. When you're sitting there watching him, you see the emotions play in his face. I completely get that when you watch the video back. But it felt like they were really overcompensating for him not getting up and going out of there. They were like, oh, his lip twisted. His lip pursed. His lips tightened. His eye twitched. I was like, come on, man, you guys are doing a lot right now. Like, you're really trying to make it be like it's okay that he didn't get up. And fair enough, he didn't get up, I get it. But when you say it's to protect the kids, he stepped out to give a presentation to the nation in front of a bunch of kids. So it's not like later, So you're saying he did it to protect the kids, but then he did that afterwards.
Yeah. I think it's a difference of like 5-10 minutes, man. In the grand scheme of things, for him probably it's processing. He's like, I think he used that time. He's sitting there like, oh shit, man. Like, what are we doing about the situation? Like, you're the most powerful person in the free world. You need to do something. This has never happened. You don't have all the information, and we saw so much in that thing because communication was so crap.
It was, man.
That there was so much fake news. Let's say, right? There's so much misinformation. This thing about the presidential's plane Air Force One being called Angel, and there was like Angel is next.
That's the one.
Right?
Yeah, we will come to that. But how things were like, how there was just like an open barrier for everybody just to say everything, and they were just over communicating little bits that they'd heard, thinking that it was a thing.
But look how scared they were, man. They were like, the president's going to be attacked at the school. The plane's going to go into the school, and then there's a bomb going to be in the car on the way. Then there's going to be a Stinger missile for this. Then
and there's a Stinger at the bottom of the runway, and you're like, whoa, you guys are really going for it.
Well, yeah. And take him out the belly of the plane because it's harder for a sniper. Like, this is, you watch like that film Gerard Butler.
You love those films he did. Olympus is Fallen. Well, yeah, you love it.
Someone made that video of you in it. That's I remember. Yeah, but you see in there like all this stuff happens. But they genuinely, like, there was a bit, man, where the pilot of Air Force One was scared for his life and said, "Do not let anybody into this cockpit." He thought there was somebody on the plane, inside the presidential inner circle. Like, the level of fear, man. Like, that's the one thing. Again, I haven't watched this stuff in a while, and I was like, these guys were like thinking anything could happen. How many planes are out there?
Because at that point, you're thinking anything goes. You don't know how much longer it's going to go on for or what else is going to happen. One thing that did give me chills was when they showed the actual second building collapse. Sorry, the second building plane go into it.
Yeah, and just get engulfed.
Yeah, so as soon as the plane went in and you see it connect, you're like, whoa. And you're thinking, that's not special effects. You can see it's on some grainy videotape and it's real. And you're like, shit me. That is horrible, right? And
it's
you
just
see
it.
There, and imagine you're watching TV, seeing smoke come out of one tower at 9 a.m. The second one gets hit, and you're thinking, this is morning viewing. Like, what the hell's going on? And you don't expect to see that when you're watching news about one attack. You hear about a second, then a third, then a fourth.
Just bang, bang, bang. And that's why I can understand they must be thinking, like, there's a bit where they said, oh, maybe it's part of their plan to get the president back to the White House, and then they'll come in another wave of planes. Like I said, they were just scared. And then the other chilling point, like you said, your chilling point. The chilling point for me is there's a TV anchor, and the towers are still standing at this point,
Yeah.
and he's just there, and he's like, as you can see behind me, there was smoke coming from the building.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
So
he
was
just
doing
starts
take
collapsing.
2 of his own video.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it starts collapsing, and then it's like there was literally no time, and the coverage you see of the, the dust and people being engulfed
Basically,
by it. There's a
I think
cameraman
that's-
running around.
I think that's called like a pyroclastic flow. So whenever a volcano
Oh, right,
erupts,
okay.
yeah,
Right. Okay.
the bit that kills people isn't the smoke; it's the debris that comes out afterwards. So the debris goes out first, then the smoke comes, and it all gets mixed. So naturally, whenever like smoke comes out of a volcano, you just step to the side and the smoke goes past you. But because it explodes out and it pushes stuff out with it, the same thing happens when a building collapses. And when that building collapsed, you see everybody just run around it, and you can see a guy. Some videographers were like filming the smoke coming towards them, and I'm like,
Yeah.
move! Why are you still there? Because they're not
Yeah.
thinking, oh, the smoke's coming towards me. I've got time. They're not thinking behind them that there's smoke or anything like that.
No,
crazy,
it was
man.
literally like, and the American accent kind of makes it more like kind of
Yeah,
movie like action. Like he's like, oh my god, run for your lives! But this was real, man. Like people were scared, panicking, they were running, and it was just mayhem, pure mayhem.
yeah. So with that, I thought it was a bit wild how news anchors had to be, how they got that close even to begin with. I mean,
Yeah.
you're thinking a building's been struck. You would have been like, yeah, I need a radius of like 9 blocks out minimum. But they were within
There,
touching
the
distance,
base.
I'd say.
They were like that shot. He was like, and behind us you can see the emergency, crew, or whatever.
Yeah,
and
the
they're right
firemen
there
and
about to
stuff.
go in. Yeah, yeah, and you're just like, oh my god, man, this is. But again, we know the building's collapsed. You look at them. I don't know the timeline between building struck and building collapsed. Like
Yeah, it's
in
not.
between.
I
But
don't know how long
it
was.
looked. The building looked pretty stable, man.
Yeah,
I mean that's one of the main conspiracy points. We'll come to that later, but they didn't expect it. And I think after that, obviously, yeah, then Tower 2 and that fell. Then there was virtually nobody, like civilians near it.
yeah. Tower 1 falling was a big deal. Tower 2 was like, okay, we've already evacuated the area, so the impact isn't as big, but you can still, it still hurts to see it collapse
No,
in
absolutely.
that manner.
And obviously, there must have been people in Tower 2. There's an infamous thing called the Falling Man. I don't know if you've seen this. Just
what?
go on Google now, actually. So go on Google, type in 9/11, the Falling Man's like photo. Just look at it for me. This is really
9/11,
infamous.
the fallen man. Guys, if you're listening, please do the same thing.
Falling,
The Falling Man. Holy shit.
You see it?
Yeah. Is that real?
So this is this is real. So this was like really, it became a story in itself, and there's a program dedicated just to this. It's about like there's a guy.
So explain
I
to
think he was-
people what actually happened.
So I can't remember if it's Tower 1, Tower 2. It's before, I think, the collapse. But essentially this person, obviously he must have a name, I don't know the name, but he's above the level of explosion. So he cannot get to safety. He can't get below the explosion zone. And, obviously he just jumps. This guy jumps and people are seeing this. And then he gets known as the Falling Man and it's captured in this photo. Like that's how horrific it was, man. And it's just... There's so many of these stories like this where people had to do this and they're just trapped, couldn't get out. But that's one of the most famous.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So this guy obviously... So building 1 and building 2 has collapsed, and you hear this other side story where there's a news anchor themselves. I think it was a news anchor, but she was known to government. Her name was Barbara Olsen. And she was on the
she's
plane as the second one was about to go, and she called her husband and she's like, what do I do? They're
Was she on that plane or
hijacking.
United 93?
She was on the second plane, I think it was.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah, and she's calling him on the phone saying they're taking the cockpit, what do I do? And he's like, what do you mean? And then she tries to explain it and the phone goes dead.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that was the one that crashed into there or to the Pentagon. It might have been the one that crashed into the Pentagon. Either way, the story's horrible. Like, it's not... Imagine having that phone call and your deepest fear coming true afterwards.
And in that story, the husband, I think he's the... What was he? He was somebody quite high in the government,
Yeah.
known to the president. He shares, I think, towards the end of the documentary, a personal...
A note that
Note
she left
that-
him. You can't make this shit
Yeah.
up, man, honestly.
Like, it's his birthday.
Yeah.
I will celebrate with you on Friday. And, he's welling up when he's trying to say the note. And I'm like...
You can't write that,
I-
man.
you
Honestly,
can't
that is way too good to be
comprehend.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can't comprehend that emotion, man.
No, you can't.
of what that person must be going through.
That's the kind of thing that can break a guy. Honestly, I can't imagine that level of dread or pain. It's too much to even consider. One thing I thought was a bit over the top was how they took off straight away on the runway on Air Force One. Like, that was a very quick takeoff. Barely any runway, just boom, let's go.
Yeah. So it did show it can be done, and it's not orthodox. But again, like this whole thing about there's somebody at the end of the runway.
Yeah.
Stinger missile. It's a hard exit, whatever they call it.
Why would you go up into the sky though, considering planes are like doing crazy shit? So, 2 planes have gone into buildings. Why would you then send them up into the air? Because that's risky.
It's a pretty standard thing, though. I was thinking about that, but yeah, if the president is under threat, then they want to keep him mobile. And as you saw later, if you have a couple of F-16s and you're pretty high up, when you're really high up, altitude-wise,
yeah.
Like your Stinger missile isn't going to get there. You're mobile, you can go anywhere as long as you've got proper good communication.
There was a point where the planes crossed over though. They were like that weird.
A plane was following them or something.
No, a plane was following them, and then the plane that went down, that was stormed by the passengers that was potentially heading for Washington again. That one was like above or below them, and they just changed pathways, but they did cross at one point. And I was thinking that's quite wild.
That is quite wild. And then obviously the whole thing about, vice president, president need to be separate if one gets killed.
That's crazy. When they say Air Force One, I think of the trainers. I don't think of the plane.
I didn't know there were trainers called Air Force One.
On a side note of marketing, so sneakerheads know that Air Force Ones are the most popular Nikes out there. And when I think Air Force One or hear it, I think trainers. I don't think the president plane or anything.
I think Harrison Ford in that film.
Which one?
Air Force One.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense.
Yeah, but it's the
shows a difference in our interests, eh?
Well, you know me, I like the movies.
Very true.
But
so,
go on. Pure chaos, man. Like it's very easy to criticize, obviously, but decision making.
It is. The only thing I wanted to criticize was the bit where he just sat there. That's what I found a bit weird. And then he went out saying, I don't want to start with the kids, but then he said he went and gave a speech in front of the kids saying there's been a terrorist attack, and I'm like, bro, there's kids there. Do you not want to get them out of the room or something then, if you want to stick to your principles? But I get it, it's a heat in the moment. You probably didn't want to think of it in that way, or you didn't have the capacity to think of that. You're just thinking, I've got to get something out there ASAP.
Yeah, you got to show strong leadership. Everybody's watching. The terrorists are probably watching this as well. And you saw in the program a lot of the stuff like he wanted to do. It goes through multiple levels. I want to go to Washington. Like 3-4 times he wanted to go back, and they were like, no,
you can't go. Which
back.
Is a smart idea, really. I'm glad that they didn't do that, because that would have been chaos as well. I know he wants to go back and show a strong message, but you've got to go through the right due diligence and keep things separate just to spread your risk.
No, exactly.
The Pentagon crash, I don't know why there was no footage. I didn't like how it was only a traffic camera that showed it, and that's it.
Again, this feels a conspiracy thing. That
it does feel a massive conspiracy.
Was it explosion? And we've got to talk about the passengers of United 93. There's a film that's made about this. You should definitely watch it, guys. About I think they show in the film that once they storm the cockpit, I don't know if they get to the point where they are able to fly the plane, but they're just not able, and they're trying to get.
No one knows that really, though, are they? All they're going to hear is just potential feedback and audio. Exactly.
So that's why the film's like that. But to think that we could die doing this, but even still.
Well, you're going to die anyway at that point. So I guess it just depends on, in that moment on a plane, right? If you put yourself in that plane, you're thinking, all right, the plane's going to be hijacked. These guys are saying that there's a bomb on there or something, and something's going down. Yeah. You're thinking, all right, I'm toast anyway. And they're probably saying, we're going towards Washington. You're like, all right, I don't want people in Washington to die. All it takes is a few people to just stand up and say, no, we're going to try and storm the cockpit. And then everyone
Because I think, look, if you're watching that, you're aware that the ultimate target is to fly into something. But if you're on the plane, they're probably not telling them that. The exact, to keep them calm, they're like, just bomb the plane. And the people thinking, well, they probably want to ransom.
No. Because in the separate one, in the second plane or something, you could hear the comms, and they were saying, we taken the cockpit. We're going to go and do this. There's a bomb on the plane. We managed to break into it with like what you call it, the clamping thing.
Yeah.
What's
Wire
it called?
cutters.
What's it called? Wire cutters. That's it. Yeah, we managed to get into the cockpit with wire cutters. So I'm assuming that if you're cocky at that point and you're a terrorist, you're like, John, 2 have happened. I've got a 3rd one on the way. You're like, yeah, you can't do shit. You're probably shouting about it, screaming about it, thinking, yeah, you're hyped up on adrenaline. Maybe you said some stupid outlandish shit. And as I said, all it takes is a few people to just stand up and push back, and then everyone will start doing it, because at that point, everyone's in common agreement thinking you're all going to die anyway. You may as well not kill everybody else in the world beneath you if you can.
No, it looked very, very
mad sacrifice,
heroic
there, man,
act.
honestly.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
And you saw if they didn't do it, the command had already come to shoot down that plane.
Oh, had it?
Yep. So Dick Cheney.
Oh yeah. So they gave the command to shoot down the plane.
Take it out.
And they didn't know if the plane had been shot down.
Well, they didn't know if they exactly they had done it, or obviously it turned out.
Yeah, which is again a testament to how bad communication was. Back then, you couldn't.
No, yeah. They kept asking them, why can't you confirm? You must know. Which again, you think about it, it's like the planes you sent out to shoot them down. Did you shoot them down? Or you didn't shoot them down. It should be very.
Put it this
simple
way:
thing to
did
ask.
you press the button? Yes or no? That's it. Did you shoot something down? Yes or no? Did you launch a missile? Yes or no? Like, break it real basic, right? That's it. But maybe everyone's panicking, thinking like, "Oh, did we? I don't know. Maybe what?" Like, yeah, you can't predict how people are going to react in that situation.
And they say that plane was the one that was destined for the White House.
Yeah, which is crazy. I was thinking, do they actually know how? What is it? Do they know? Did those guys know how to fly a plane, or how to direct where it was going to go?
Correct. So the aftermath, again, depends if you're a conspiracy theorist or not. Because conspiracy theories will say that those people that they put on the flight manifest actually were never on the plane. That's what they'll say. But these guys, right, these guys who are said to be the terrorists, the CIA had been watching them for a while. They had openly been having flying lessons for a certain period of time in America. But yes, they were trained in how to fly. So they knew exactly what they're doing. Because it's not... My understanding would be, like, you and me, we can't just fly a plane. It takes obviously certain... Well, not certain. It takes a lot of skills. So there would have to be, maybe not all of them, not all of the 4, I think, on each plane. Maybe 1 or 2 of them. Maybe the 2 are like more like security or whatever.
Yeah.
But yes, they can fly.
That explains it then. Because if you're just going to storm a cockpit, how do you know what the fuck to do? How do you know what to do?
No, absolutely. Unless you're gonna tell the pilot what to do, maybe, force him under kind of duress of death. Maybe you could do that. But like I said, I think a lot of people would have thought, terrorists, they can negotiate, they're going to ask for something. It's going to be about money or whatever it's going to be, free our lands.
No, they just wanted to raise hell, man. That's it.
Yeah. Pure chaos, man.
I don't know how Building 7 fell, so that was the last building to fall.
Absolutely. And again, you see the footage, and again, fuels the conspiracy theory. It's just like, well, there's no debris hitting it. There's obviously no plane that hit it. Why is it collapsing? And why does it look like it's collapsed in the form of controlled demolition? Just...
Yeah, I didn't... They didn't cover that much. All they did was just like, here's Building 7. I was like, okay. That collapsed. I didn't know it collapsed.
There is an official report that was released after 9/11. Let me just... If you keep talking, I'll have a look. I'll see what the actual...
Yeah, so... When it just collapsed, they didn't really cover it too much, and maybe that's because in the interest of time of the documentary, but it just shows that they were proper laying it on thick, because even when Bush was on the plane and he was talking, he said that's the first, he was given intel saying you've got a second wave of attacks coming, and Building 7 was the first one of those second wave of attacks. Apparently. I thought the second wave would be the Pentagon and the White House. That would have made the most sense, but yeah, the Building 7 thing was odd. I didn't know... I only thought for years that only the Twin Towers fell. I didn't know that the Pentagon was attacked. I didn't know that Building 7 was a thing. I just thought it was
Really?
2 buildings that collapsed and that's it. Yeah. It was only many years later when I was like in uni or something that I figured that out. Oh, it's gone crashed.
So it says here... No, I'm here.
Oh, no, you're here. Yeah, you went
Yeah,
very...
yeah,
you didn't even move for ages.
What caused the fires in World Trade Center 7? So that's Building 7. Debris from collapse of WTC-1, which was 370 feet to the south, ignited fires on at least 10 floors in the building at its south and west faces. And then there's a whole section on how did the fires cause that to collapse. The heat from the uncontrolled fires cause steel floor beams and girders to thermally expand into chain events that cause a structural column to fail. The failure of this structural column then initiated a fire-induced progressive collapse of the entire building. So this is the official thing that's said
So
about.
it's saying
all the
Building
buildings.
7 was close enough for it to be impacted by the other two falling. That's essentially it. So then why
But the
didn't
video
everything
footage
within that
doesn't
block
suggest-
radius fall then?
Well, this is the thing, and then people will say that actually Building 7 was a known kind of national security type building. NSA, CIA, FBI, whatever it is. And people will say, like, there are people who've come on record. There's a whole movement for this. Who've asked the architects of the actual World Trade Centers, right? People who've designed the building, plus structural engineers, who have gone on record and said you could put 7, 8, 9, 10 planes to the buildings, they wouldn't collapse.
Building 7?
No, sorry, not Building 7, but the other two, the proper.
The World Trade Center?
Yeah. They're like,
So
this theory.
logically, I'm not an engineer or anything, I would think if you put something heavy on top, it's going to fall.
Yeah, not on top though, is it? It went through it.
No, it went through, but it stayed in. It didn't come out the other end.
Absolutely. Well, there's nothing to come out the other end. It's ignited, it's exploded. Yes, there's obviously a lot of energy that's been released. But again, the nature of collapse, this kind of what looked like controlled demolition. Again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm saying this is where the theory comes from.
So the engineers have said that it shouldn't have collapsed the way it did. It should have what? Just fell to the side?
No, it just shouldn't have collapsed, full stop. Like, this is reinforced steel. Like, they did the modelling, they were like, you know, okay, the explosion, engine fuel, this amount of heat. Because we model for these things, it's not like they said we didn't build the building thinking this would happen, but you should be able to withstand this.
Yeah, I get it,
Right. And then, well, I might as well share this story now. So when Indy and I were in New York for our Bangor competition 2015, on
You
the way
said
back
Bangor, yeah? Do you want to slap?
Yeah, I just realised.
Bangor.
Bangor straight after.
Jesus, yeah, good lad, right?
All right, mate. All right.
Correct
We were
yourself.
traveling in a taxi, I think from what's it called? New Jersey.
It was me, you, and another guy, Qatar, yeah.
Yeah, New Jersey train station going somewhere. Anyway, the taxi driver told us that he was a fireman who was on the ground zero, day one, post collapse. No, not post collapse, before the collapse, right? And he said when we were in the building trying to evacuate people, he felt an explosion from underneath him, so below the building, and he believes that this is what triggered the
building
collapse,
to collapse,
of the
yeah.
buildings, right? So really, like you said, just taking it off completely at the base, and then causing it. And he said that obviously, something has gone into the building. There's enough what we call like plausible doubt. There's enough like happening already. There's chaos. These things could happen, and you wouldn't really know or suspect it. And obviously, that's fueled a lot of conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
This is an inside job, and it was the way to tap everyone's phones, get rid of privacy laws, invade Afghanistan.
Yeah, it
get rid of,
did
there's all this
bring
stuff.
like a wealth of other things on the other side. So, yeah, tracking, etc., all that stuff, I'm sure started happening directly after that for more and more intel because they were caught so off guard about it. It's funny how things go full circle though, isn't it? Because America's just pulled out of Afghanistan, and the purpose of the outcome of those attacks was to go into Afghanistan and Iraq, wasn't it? So,
Correct.
It's weird how things just go like that in full circle in about 20 years' time. And now Afghanistan is now back in Taliban hands. So it's weird. It's conflicting, to say the least.
Be interesting to see if the Taliban just, if they just want ownership of their country and they've got it back and they're happy doing that, or they can now then become aggressors and be like, actually, we want to attack America now.
No one's going to know, are they? I mean, it's just a play-by-ear kind of thing. No one can predict it. Maybe they can... I started to Google the difference between the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, etc. And they're all militant groups or militia groups, but they all believe in a different way of practicing.
Ideology.
A different way of practicing like Islam. And that's where I was like, oh, okay, so who's the... I need someone to rank it and tell me who's the most militant, like who's
the most evil. You mean?
Yeah, like who's the worst and who's the lesser of all the evils, right? So that's what that's what I need someone to sort of explain to me in like a clean, concise way. I'm assuming that Islamic State are the worst because they've been putting out the most amount of the most amount of nation takeover, etc., and just terrorism. Period. The Taliban's different. Yeah, it's so much.
I think the perception that the Taliban have is that they have this kind of code of ethics. It's all about, we have leaders, we want to rule, we want to be autonomous, we want to be our own state, rather than, and just as long as we have that, we're not looking to invade other people. And that
There's also a bunch more stuff as well to watch on Netflix. So on Netflix, it tells you the build up to the war, and the build up to 9/11, and how Russia was involved in the conflicts and all that stuff with Afghanistan, and how the US was facilitating helping Afghanistan to combat against the Russians.
Stop communism.
Yeah, so all of those things is really important. So I'm going to watch the Netflix 5-part series now next and start watching
What's it called?
But I can't remember the name of it. Let me just check now. Hang on. Netflix 9/11 documentary. Oh, here's a funny story. If you type in Netflix 9/11 documentary onto Google, you get Hassan Minhaj's stand-up special for Homecoming. I don't know why, but you do.
Some weird
very
SEO
weird.
right there.
Yeah, so this one here is it called, I think it's Turning Point. Yeah, Turning Point 9/11 the War on Terror. Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
And it's got 5 episodes worth. They're all about an hour long. So me and Karan were going to try and watch that in a week, but it's a bit of a big ask. So we just stuck to that one.
Thank you, Indy. Thank you. Not giving me too much homework.
You're welcome, bruv. I love it. It's fun, man. It's fun.
Oh yeah, it's fun, isn't it? Oh yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
You know what is annoying though? Knowing that we have to do a podcast about it, I'm like, okay, you have to sit and pause it and then write your notes and then let it play. Because if you don't, your notes escape you and your mental thoughts escape you. You clearly don't agree, but okay. Cool.
No. I just watch it and then I just come and riff on it.
One last thing to wrap it up. Imagine the planes have struck everywhere. One's dropped in Washington. You're running out of Washington, and you see a plane in the sky. You're thinking, is that coming for me? I could not imagine that. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, if that were to happen, then yeah, I would go into some sort of kind of contingency.
There's nowhere to go.
Or current kind of thing. No, there is. This is like when you're watching our films, you'll be like, all right, how do I get into the sewer system? How do I get underground? How do I get off the grid? Like, you just go into that kind of mindset. But I think like that because I think about this stuff a lot. About
You're not normal, mate. Not a lot of people think of that.
No. I'm what you call a prepper. So I think about certain eventualities and what would I have in place if I had Most people have this to some degree. It's like someone broke in your house. Where you going? Where's your safe spot? Where your weapons?
Yeah, I know where the weapons are at home and stuff. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Mate, if someone gets in your house, window cleaning equipment, that's it.
Mate, forget the window cleaning equipment. Dad's got a gun somewhere in the house.
A bandook.
He's actually got a bandook. That's the word for the week, guys. Bandook is gun. Yeah. He's got a gun. No, it's a real gun. I've seen it. Yeah.
Do you know what I was thinking about the Indy since we did paintballing? Like, if you had a paintballing gun in your house and obviously somebody.
My brother had one. Bao had one for years in his room. Yeah.
It's pretty like we wear masks, right? And if you got hit in the face, like it really hurts, man. Like you hit somebody with paint in the face, A, it really hurts. B, they're not going anywhere quick, man. They're going to be really disoriented.
If you freeze paintballs pop, and fire them at people, it's even worse.
How would you know that?
Because Bao told me.
You're not psychos, man.
Yeah, he is a bit of a psycho. Well, he was at uni anyway. That's where he had the paintballing gun from.
Right, I see.
Never let me fire it though. I was too young.
Yeah, remind me if we do ever go paintballing, I'll have Bal on my team then.
Yeah, you want him on your team for sure, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, and that topic.
Did you enjoy hitting me in the head with that paintball?
That was unfortunate. You were part of collateral damage. I can't lie.
Oh, did you see the smoke that came off my head and the head action?
I saw your head jolt forward. Yeah,
because Shindy sent it to Inshi. She was like, this guy's a doctor, man. Like shooting him in the head, execution style.
Sorry, man.
Yeah. Could have gone for the arse. Could have gone for the back of the leg. No.
Look, I was running out of time and I had bullets and I was like, I just need to keep shooting, so I just kept shooting and just doing this.
Yeah, it was the last bullet as well. I thought it escaped.
It was the last one. Yeah, you thought you got off scot-free.
Yeah.
All right, wrap that one up.